Okay, it's working now. It's on YouTube. I just got the alert on my phone.
Awesome. See if I got the alert. Yes, I did. Let's share. Let's pretend like we care or something. Because they say sharing is caring. Let's let the world know we're here. See if I got the alert. Yes, I did. Okay. Let's share. Let's pretend like we care.
All right.
They say sharing is.
Right. Phone's off. My aunt got the text. Got my hat on, got my glasses. Engage.
Give me one moment. And it's 9:04. We're running a little behind. Sorry about some little technical difficulties we're experiencing tonight. But I'm just sharing it with the world that we're here on my page. What is today's date? 9/17? Oh,
Let's see.
18.
Yes, the 18th.
Speak about national politics. All right. Sorry. Just gotta, for those that are watching, we just gotta make sure that everybody that we can get to join it, be looking forward to us. We want to let them know we out here. So this is what we do. And with no further ado, we're going to get ready to jump in. We have a lot to discuss tonight. So I got to put on my professional face. For those of y'all who know how serious we can get, it's got to get serious. This is going to be a very serious day. Conversation is going to be serious. I do believe with everything that's been happening as of presently, I don't even have the. I'm about to be working from my phone until for the moment. So for those of y'all who don't know, well, first, let me introduce us. This is the think tank, where we use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, pinch of common sense to draw unbiased, logical conclusions. We're here every Sunday live at 9 p.m. and we record Thursday and we have it out by Friday, Saturday, because we speak about Trump and the politics and the federal level of the country. And so many things are happening so fast that even twice a week, we're so far behind. So today I have a friend of the channel who does these lives and record these Thursday recordings with me, the Honorable Dion Powell from the Bronx. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I'm the 70th Assembly District Leader, Dion Powell, here in the Bronx, New York. If you're from the Fordham area, Kingsbridge, Bedford Park Boulevard, some of Mashila Parkway, the Grand Concourse, and the East 180s and stuff like that, I may represent you. So thank you very much. On behalf of our studio audience, I'd just like to ask Leo, why so serious? Because for me, the roller coaster of the Trump train is just doing its job, making America great again. And that's what I got to say about that.
Well, I guess when you take into account that President Biden was in such a terrible condition and that they hid it
He's in
from
more
us.
terrible condition now that he's come down tragically with that prostate cancer.
I
I,
didn't know about that.
exactly, Judge. That's right. So I'm not saying that because I'm happy about it. I'm just saying that, wow, what a plot twist this is. After, they kept saying they want him to sit down somewhere from saying that he could have won and all this other PR stunts that's hurting the Democratic brand. I'm sure one doesn't have to do with the other, right?
Wow, using his prostate cancer.
The
Well,
Democrats or me?
I
What if
mean,
Donald Trump had prostate cancer? How many people would be already getting their shoes ready to dance on his grave? Just think about it. Me, I'm just putting the facts out there saying that
Donald Trump can still hurt us. Is washed up.
he's washed up.
He's done. He can't hurt us no more. Trump. Well, let's talk about
He
Trump.
who is this us? He is hurting the Democratic brand by parading around saying how much he would have won if it was heads up, and
I'm not a Democrat. That doesn't bother me.
How Kamala's loss is
Sorry.
based on sexism and those kind of
Sounds
things.
tough.
So that's why, guys,
And
prostate cancer is getting younger and younger. That's why I insist, even in 30s, try to get it done despite your health insurance. Get your butt checked, as Councilman Perkins used to say. Prostate cancer.
so here's the thing, right? If you're an American, Republican, Democrat, regardless, Biden's condition should not affect you at a political level. He's done. He did hurt the brand. If you're a Democrat, you can use to lick your wounds and move on. If you're a Republican, do your little happy dance. But we have the future to look at. With the president in the future to look at. Let's talk about what's going on in the present and future. With Donald Trump is celebrating his gold card, pathway to citizenship. It is happening. How do you feel about that?
Well, once again, I have to let the audience know, please excuse the New York background if you hear that noise. And I think it's going to be a good thing. So far, we'll lead up to the UAE, United Arab Emirates, and they're investing in the American brand, and more billionaires want to come over here. And so far, the tide is changing, even on the liberal progressive media side, the fourth branch of government. They're starting to say, wait a minute, this Trump stuff that he's doing is actually helping us out. And if we say otherwise, it actually hurts us. So this gold card, we'll see, is being approved. Everybody's pushing forward. We'll see who comes in here. What other billionaire from the outer skirts of the earth will come to move to America to get their citizenship and then put their
It's
business here.
wow. So you can basically buy citizenship. You can't be here and be a citizen already be born here, like the Constitution says.
Well,
But you
that's
can
how
buy
people
your
came
way
in.
in.
That's how people came in illegally. They had to pay the black market to get here. So everything money talks and bullshit walks, the way I was
So
saying.
it's okay for you that the president is going strictly against the Constitution and paving his own path. That's fine with you.
Excuse me while I whip this out. So as you can clearly see, family, one president did whatever he wanted per the Constitution, and we have another president that's pushing the envelope on the Constitution. One actually hurt the country with their immigration policy, and one, if you look at it by line, actually is going to help the country with its immigration policy, targeting the specific demographic of billionaires and millionaires. That's
And
right.
how is that going to help the average citizen?
Well, if you have millionaires and billionaires moving back into the country and new ones moving into the country, putting their businesses here, that helps our local economy. Once again, I'm not big on economics, but that sounds logical to me because they're always talking about how jobs and businesses are moving overseas. So this incentive, I think, makes sense on its surface. Now, let's wait and see what happens, just like with the tariff war. Oh, look at this guy sipping on his tea.
I would infer that based on what's happened with the billionaires that are here, very few people will see the benefits of that. We look at everybody from Amazon workers can't even form unions to Facebook workers where they want to use immigrants with special visas to work and don't want to hire us. I don't see how it's going to benefit us, but that's reality. America is over and over again quoted. If you have something, if you ever reply, please respond.
Oh, I want to keep you going, man, because I gotta let the audience and let it marinate for our viewers, this Trump derangement. That way they don't see us as one-sided. Keep going.
America was never a laughing stock. Trump is over and over again. We were the laughing stock of the world. When I'm a proud American, I'm veteran, as you like to point out. I never felt that the country was a laughing stock. I
Not
think
even under
that
George W. You don't remember George W., opening doors and saying, hey, you fooled me once, shame on you, fooled me twice. Well, you can't shame me again. You know why he was an embarrassment?
we still supported the president. We never taught like we don't. We look back. We look back right now. You're saying that, but how many people look back and say how terrible George Bush was? We look back and say, you know, we were a great country. We went through more things. I mean, every time a Republic is in, it seems like the damn economy crashes, right? Like it go and there's a reason for it, but I'm not gonna go deep into that. So that's deep. But we weren't a laughing stock, even when George Bush was in, W. Bush, the son, 2000 W. Bush, right? Even when he was in, we were fighting wars in other countries. We were still the heroes of the world.
We were starting wars actually, and we actually caused a lot of death and
That makes us a laughing stock?
Iraq and Afghanistan. Fast forward decades later, and then on top of that, the president at the time wasn't able to articulate himself. But then again, some people argue that Trump actually articulates himself even worse than George W. If you believe such a thing. And in the meantime, Trump is actually trying to de-escalate wars and create business deals, which is great. So now,
So your opinion of the laughing stock was the last Republican in before Trump.
well, if you want to say laughing stock, then you would have to
No,
say
that's Trump's
George
words
W.
over and every time he speaks.
Well, again, like I said, some could argue that Trump speaks worse than George W. And I listen to both two statements, okay, because George W. is more of a career politician and not Trump. But again, being a laughing
Trump
stock.
has been trying to get into politics since the 80s, over half his life. Trump been trying to get in politics since I was in elementary school.
However, George W. was in politics, governor of Texas, and on and on. But
Okay, so Trump failed a lot longer.
he once he got elected, it's a different ball game. In addition, right now people can say he's the laughing stock of the world, but it seems as though when it comes to doing business, not so much.
Well, I don't know if China would agree with that.
Let's root for China,
But
everybody. China.
but it does appear that millennials are starting to feel the same way as you do. There's
Say,
been an
I'm a millennial. I was born in 1981, so I just made the cutoff. I'm a millennial, and I've always supported Trump going forward. But I didn't vote for him the first two times. Third time I did, but I've always been a fan of Trump.
the first two times.
Yeah, the first two times I didn't vote for Trump because he was just like
Oh, the
me.
first two times. Oh, you talking about the last? Because the first two times, again, starting in the 80s.
The first time he was the Republican nominee for president of the United States, heads up against a Democrat. I didn't vote for him the first two times. The third time, I was like, all right, let me get it right. Yeah, I vote for him.
You know what? I have to give him a lot of props. I guess for real, somebody who works at something for 40 years and succeeds, and it's the highest office in the land.
Well, Joe Biden was in the industry for over 40 years and he succeeded, and here we are. But look at all the
Okay, so gotta give him
he did
props too, don't
along
we?
the
Well, I
way.
guess I do anyway. How did this phone number get on here? Whose phone number? I accidentally put somebody's phone number in as I was creating my notes. I was busy as always. So there's a 3% uptick in millennial votes, which is millennial support for Donald Trump, which is to say that he's gaining support. As his polls were down, now they're creeping up even in places where he never had the support.
Exactly. And we all know polls lie. Anytime a mainstream media gives you a poll about Trump, try to add like 10 to 15 points to it, because that's probably what's really true. So now that they're reporting this on the mainstream legacy media side, you know it's really bad. And on top of that, it's probably better than what they're reporting.
I don't know where you get the numbers. I know that when I do my research and I look at the Democrats, I look at the Republicans, the Democrats tend to actually use numbers. The Republicans just call names like they don't
Just
use
because CNN
numbers.
said it, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not true. Just because Newsmax says it doesn't mean it is true, and vice versa. But now, from your statistics, CNN has said that millennials are doing better with Trump now.
Is
So
that CNN?
then who said it? What media did you get that from?
I believe it was Republican. Anyway, you're right. It couldn't have been because Republican doesn't give numbers, so it must have been Democrat.
It must have been CNN, the Chinese news network. They must be saying something about Trump and the positive light for a change. Try to regain their credibility. Thanks a lot, Jake Tapper. You ruined that.
The Harvard president, the president of Harvard University, is willing to take a 25% cut
Of what?
to salary.
What are their salary?
What is whose salary?
The president of Harvard. What's 25% of what? What is their salary?
Do you happen to know? Because I don't have the information offhand.
Well, I'm glad you asked because Claudine Gay, the first black president of Harvard University that was kicked out, she's still making over $400,000, whereas Al Sharpton and the rest of the games are fine for her job back. Did you know that? She doesn't care. Why would she care about DEI being destroyed? But present day, if she was making or is making 400, nearly $500,000 in salary as the president of Harvard University, this guy probably is roughly making the same. So 25% cut of that, okay.
More. It's more.
Well, again, if he's taking a 25% cut, then that means all the other staffers and administrative costs of Harvard University, they should be willing to say, hey, we have to tighten our belts if we believe in what we're preaching here at Harvard. And then again, some people are like, wait a minute, why should Harvard, a private university, get federal funding? I mean, people cry and boo-hoo when private school gets funding from the government. So that's how I feel about that. Hashtag school choice.
I can't argue that Harvard receiving federal funding while being supposedly one of the most prestigious schools in the world and you having to pay so much money to attend Harvard sounds insane.
You have endowments, so.
But someone willing to take a 25% cut in salary, regardless of what that salary is, to stand their ground and fight for something they believe in is something I respect.
I expect that too, which is great. So, but we'll see if everybody else at Harvard tightens their belts and takes the L, unless they change the curriculum to the federal Department of Education standards under limited man, baby. Then they have to take it on the show.
The standards where you cannot teach anything about blacks in school, that standard?
And Harvard?
Any school.
Well, they're talking about on a collegiate level, any money that's being used.
They said any school, collegiate, all the way down to the elementary school. That is what the standard is. You cannot teach anything black.
That's not true at all. But
that is absolutely a fact.
Again,
Black history, Martin Luther King, none of it. Slavery, you cannot teach that.
Let's all see it together. Where's this in writing that they're going to destroy?
I'm not doing all of that. I'm not doing all that. We got more important things to talk about than to try and go. Listen, if you're not aware of it, that's not my problem. I'm stating the facts. Most people know this already. I'm assuming. If not, when it becomes important because it's time to talk about the Board of Ed, I'll deal with it then. We got more important things to talk about today. Way more important. I mean, last time I couldn't convince you about the important topic of today, and I'm excited to hear if you finally accepted what everybody else knew. And that's only because you represent the Conservative Party, and I'm just waiting to see if the Conservative Party. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. So, did you hear that Donald Trump said homegrowns are next? Do you know what that entails? What that is about?
Educate me.
Deporting American citizens.
Okay. Didn't the Supreme Court put a pause on that, Leo, amongst other things, when it comes to deportations?
So you're not aware of the fight going on right now?
That the Supreme Court shut down the deportations that's going on? No. All right, let's go.
Yes, because Trump is listening to the Supreme Court, right? The
Supreme Court has said no. Let's see. SCOTUS, which stands for the Supreme Court of the United States of America, deportations. Let's see what the AI says. Right, here we go. The Supreme Court has been blocking deportations under the wartime law that President Trump has been trying to use. And
that's correct. That's correct.
It hasn't stopped the deportations. No.
It hasn't stopped the deportations. It hasn't brought back the people the Supreme Court has ordered him to bring back. And the biggest example is the one that's been going on for months that the Supreme Court told him to assist in bringing back weeks ago, Gregor Garcia, where he is flaunting not bringing them back.
The Supreme Court said he must facilitate it. Listen, the reporters were there.
And then he went on live TV.
The president of El Salvador was sitting next to the man. They turned to him and said, hey, President of El Salvador, what do you think? Are you going to give him back? He said, no. What is Trump supposed to do? Go to war with El Salvador for this one guy? I don't think so. And plus,
that's one way to spin it. Or you could say, well, then we're not going to pay you to detain him anymore, and then they probably just send him back since our tax dollars is what keeps him there. We went through this. Do you recall it? We've
Yes.
proven this.
In the
So then
meantime,
he's not trying to facilitate it. He's ignoring the courts, and our tax dollars are paying for his ignoring of the courts. That's what's happening.
be that as it may, the Supreme Court said no, and so these deportations are on pause. Back to the courts.
The whole point is Trump is not really paying attention to the courts. The courts told him not to send them in the first place when he sent them.
Mistakes happen.
That was it wasn't a mistake. He outright was like, "Oh well, the plane was in the air." Come to find out the plane wasn't. Come to find out the plane wasn't in the air. He was lying. He literally just ignored the courts. That's what happened. I mean, you didn't know this?
Okay, let's say the president did ignore the Supreme Court or the court system as a whole. Why is it important that we fight and die for these, even though we all voted for him to deport these people? Most of the people don't see any problem with this. You see what I'm saying? We voted for this man to do mass deportations, and he's going to try to get done by as humanly possible as he can.
Without the Constitution, what is this country?
Well, the thing is, people always fall in the Constitution when they want to see things done their way. But when things are done with the Constitution, let's say for the Second Amendment right to have a gun, then it's like, oh no, we got to change that right away.
What are you talking about? Like, I
I'm
don't
talking
even
about when
understand.
people say I have a Second Amendment right to have access to a gun, people don't like that. And that's the Constitution. But if it deals with President Trump ignoring the Constitution in one area, it's a problem.
The president ignoring the Constitution is just about as bad as anything can get. Him ignoring the Constitution makes this no longer a democracy, it makes it an aristocracy, because the one thing that stands between a president being an aristocracy and this country being a democracy, the only thing is the Constitution.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
Well, yes, that document we're all based on, but this one era of deportations so far, the most, how to say this, Trump's platform can take this deportation policy. Now, the way he's doing it, people disagree with, but so far the end result with deportations, people are okay with. He went around, skirted, and bent the Constitution. So far, people are okay with that.
He didn't go around skirting, bending the Constitution. He ignored the Constitution, because the Constitution also states that he would have had to listen to the Supreme Court, and he ignored them. He is outright ignoring the Constitution. That is what they call, the scholars call it.
I'm glad you said that, because as a result, what did Dion say? You shouldn't teach the man, right? But you got the congressman out of Michigan, Danager, I think his name is. He tried to push the articles of impeachment, but the Democrats wouldn't let him. So
Democrats wouldn't let him because he knew the Republicans would defend the outright disrespect to the Constitution that the president has currently ensued. The Democrats didn't let him because they knew the Republicans was going to support him regardless.
The Congressman Green wants to push his articles of impeachment. What's taking so long?
Because they know the Republicans are not going to impeach. So to do that, see, so here's the thing, right? Impeachment
doesn't mean they can't introduce them.
It does, and I'll explain it. So impeachment is like bringing somebody to court. So the Congress becomes the court in this case. If the Republicans are supporting Trump, no matter what he does, and God knows where I'd get that from. Oh, wait, we'll get to that in a minute. And they're going to protect him, and they're not, because they're afraid, or whatever reason they might have, and they're not going to impeach him, then the articles cannot be brought back again when there is actually a chance to get an impeachment. It's called double jeopardy when it's in the courts. The same rule applies for an impeachment. So if the Democrats move forward on an impeachment like we discussed on our last recording, then they would not be able to impeach him. There'd be nothing left because he would have already gotten off on everything. It would be a double jeopardy. It would be foolery to impeach him right now.
All the talk of impeaching this man is null and void. So once again, the Democrats are hopeless and helpless. But did you know, on top of that, like I said, they should be pushing some legislation? I did some checking. And according to my research and colleagues, During this present session of Congress, it's actually passed and proposed the least amount of bills in decades. So think about it. Zero bills introduced. That sounds strange. Like people aren't doing their jobs until we get up to the very good bill, right?
Good bill? We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Beautiful bill. I'm sorry, beautiful bill. It's a beautiful bill. Anyway, long story
That's
short, Congress is not doing its job because there have been no real bills being proposed or passed. That's the
right, because they're trying to jump a little into one, but they are doing some things. I don't want to jump ahead because that's the big conversation, right? Jeffrey squared off, Senator Jeffrey from New Jersey squared off against ICE, trying to stop them from doing a thing. Why are you shaking your head?
These black leaders will die for some illegals. But when it comes to doing their job to protect their districts, not so much. Freaking APAC has more control and influence over them than your black vote. I just want to put that out there.
Can't argue that. Can't argue that. But I can say that Jeffries isn't the only one not happy with the deportations. Actually, the country is swinging away from support for the deportations because of the way it's being carried out. And the fact that I think it might have something to do with the fact that people like equal branches, whatever, and Trump is like ignoring one of the branches and not as and people are not really for ignoring the courts. But then again, when you elect a felon, what do you expect, right?
Well, the thing about it is, Hakeem Jeffries is one of the top Congress people that takes a lot of money from APAC and other interest groups that would push the pro-migrant agenda. So of course he's willing to die for this issue if he's going to get backing from special interest groups that push the migrants on us and make so much money off their nonprofits from the migrants being here in New York City. So those are the facts as I see
He's
it.
not in New York City.
Are you talking about Hakeem Jeffries that represents Brooklyn, the deputy leader in the House?
I thought he was in New Jersey.
Well, he was probably in New Jersey for lights, camera, action, but New York Mayor Rick Baraka, he's the one that got roughed up and thrown in jail. That they
Oh,
freaking
yeah, right. Another
another
one,
black
right?
man that's going to die for illegals, but can't really give out contracts to his black brothers and sisters when it comes to business. That's strange.
And that's not true. So Trump says that if we tax the rich, they'll leave America. So he doesn't want to. That's why he wants to keep from taxing them. But isn't America great again? Because he's president and everybody's happy now. Why would the rich want to leave? Where are they going to go that they're going to get it so good?
Well, they can go to India like they've been going to get cheap labor for their business. And on top of that, they can skirt a lot of regulations.
So if
And
they've been doing that anyway, taxing is going to change that. How? We're talking about what's going to make them taxes not making them leave. You like to like dip and dodge on topics. Let's try and stick to this one for a minute.
okay,
He said,
okay.
oh, go ahead.
He said that they're going to leave if he taxes them, right?
Yes.
All right. So he is right because that's the trend that's happening throughout the presidencies. When you tax the rich, they leave or move out of the state to a cheaper state. That's a fact. And on top of that, what the president's trying to do is make America a more business friendly country by making a lot of deregulations. So they wouldn't have to go through a lot of red tape to get things done to sell their products and make their products here in America. But he
Don't
does think
worry
about
about
things.
poisoning people, the environment, the people getting paid properly, benefits. We're taking away, Medicaid, Medicare, but the people don't need benefits. They don't need unions. Right, business friendly. Got you.
Well, again, thanks to the gold card and some other incentives and the tariff war with China, businesses are coming here regardless of what he's saying. The actions are speaking louder than the words.
So the business people are going to benefit, and the average person is going to suffer.
That's not true at all.
That's
And
not true at all.
once again, short term loss for long-term gains. That's
Yeah,
what
and
I think is happening here, and people are starting to realize that.
people are being duped. Here's how it works. Like you said, economics is not your thing. I'm gonna explain something to you, and I'm gonna make it as simple as possible. If you have business and you have employees, if a business wants to make more money, they pay their employees less. That increases their margin, the money the profit. If they pay more, then their margin shrinks. They're making less money. So, in order for businesses to do well, people can't do as well. The more they pay in money and benefits, the less money a business makes. That's pure common sense. And that's not even economics 101. That's stuff you learn in like junior high school.
Well, that's again why the president wants to what? Get rid of certain regulations on businesses that will require them to do just that. For example, at will workers. The president was very big on that with breaking unions up and saying, hey, you shouldn't have to mandatory pay into something that's not going to really represent your best interest. So that's why the right to work was a dangerous concept on his first administration that he's bringing back. Because then the businesses have more leeway with some of those regulations in paying workers and certain other union
Right.
benefits.
So now they don't have to pay everybody. So now they can get the cheapest labor possible because they don't have people coming together saying none of us is going to work if you don't pay us a decent living wage. And that's going to benefit the workers in a major way, I'm sure.
We have to wait and see what happens. So far, Amazon's doing good, and nobody's bothering them, are they?
Amazon union bust. Believe me, they're trying to unify. They're trying to unionize.
Is that President Trump's fault? Because President Trump told Amazon, listen, you need to take this on a chin with these tariffs and make sure your workers are happy. So if anything, President Trump has stood up for workers.
No, that's not standing up for workers. That's standing up for the consumers. Taking it on the chin means that they have to eat the cost. So what do you think they're going to do if it costs them money? They're going to try and find ways to try and make up the difference in money. What do you think are the ways they can do that? It's going
Doesn't
to
work.
infect the
It doesn't
employees.
matter what I think because that's all speculation. In the meantime, we haven't seen this happen as of yet.
Well, this is not rocket science. You have money, you're making a certain amount of money. Now it's costing you more money. So in order to make that money up, you charge people. You can't charge people. Now you got to find a way to cut your expenditures. What is your biggest expenditure? Your labor force. So you're going to cut workers. You're going to cut overtime. You're going to find ways to do cuts to your employees. There's no other way to do it. That's not I don't understand how that's a conversation. Some things I don't understand how we
Everything in
even talk
economics,
about.
not me. So it shouldn't be a conversation. It's a one-way street because you have the high ground in economics that I don't.
Copy. All right. So Trump said tax the rich. I said we went over this, right? So the Qatar meeting, weapons sold, 160 Boeings, biggest plane deal in the history of mankind, or at
Mhm.
least recorded history. Perhaps, the aliens from another planet or whatever in Egypt or whatever it is. But as far as but as far as recorded history that we know about, there's never been this big of a deal. So whose side is Trump on? He didn't even bother to stop and see Bibi while he was there. Meanwhile, so listen, I never heard him call the Queen Your Majesty, but when he's dealing with them brown folk that got money, money made him say Your Majesty, didn't it?
And you also have to wear the hijab, ladies. So no matter how little progressive you are, when you set putting off the plane on those countries, you got to put on that headcloth. So there you have it.
So he has a certain level of respect when he's dealing with people that have a certain amount of money,
Yeah.
because that's the only people they'll deal with. Which, okay, enlighten me.
Well, first of all, the man's going to respect what? Money, because that's the realm he comes from. When it comes to
That's
business,
a fact. So then why you shake your head no?
no, I'm shaking my head no, meaning that he doesn't. That's because they're brown folks with money. Anybody with money in general,
Oh,
whether
absolutely. That's 100% fact. My reason for saying the brown folks was when you have the brown folks without money. I don't care if you're Houthi or Hamas. There's no love or respect there.
so basically he's not a racist. He's more of a classist then.
I've said that since episode
Okay,
one.
so we established on this program at Think Tank, President Donald Trump is not a racist. And
No,
we can leave it at that.
I honestly believe that up until, you know what? I don't know what to say because I didn't believe him to be a racist, but the way he treats nations that are black versus nations that are white will have me think otherwise. I mean, bombing Gaza and trying to take it over, why didn't he try and do that with Ukraine?
Well, what about the peace deal in Nigeria? So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Why
No,
is he
listen,
helping? Why is he helping? Why is he helping the colonialists that are trying to escape South Africa after what they've done there? And why is he down talking South Africans who just want their land back? Why is it that black people can't talk about slavery anymore? Why is it that what is like, yo, if it black related to Trump, there's a lot of negativity.
be
Why is
that
he
as
trying to
it
talk
may,
about Christopher Columbus but doesn't want to
yeah,
talk about Martin Luther King?
that's all well and good, Leo, but you and I both have to agree on this platform that he is not a racist.
I can't just say that blanket anymore.
I
When he
get it.
wants to bring Christopher Columbus into schools and wants to take out Black History Month and anything black, there's something definitely racist about that. Even if his heart isn't racist, his actions are.
All right, back to the rich brown people in the Arab Emirate. So once again, the good news is we have $1.4 trillion in investments and agreements together, and also AI technology. So that's another win for America. Even legacy media has to say, hey, he did a great job.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I mean, what did he get under the table while he was there is my
Well, here
question.
we go. Who
Listen,
cares? Nobody
okay,
cares. As long as America,
nobody cares.
nobody should care about that, what he's getting on the table, other than what we are getting as a nation overall. And he's proven it. And on top of that, he's pissed off Israel because he's getting
Are
so
y'all
big
hearing
with
this?
the Arabs. So hopefully
This
people
is
that have a
conservative
problem with
thinking.
Palestine and Israel, because like, wow, if he's able to piss off Israel with this deal, maybe Trump's not actually pro-Israel, is he?
He's talking about helping them against Iran, helping them against the Houthis, taking over the Gaza Strip. He's obviously pro-Israel.
But on top of that, the UAE also likes to play both sides as well. So it's business as usual.
That I agree with 200%. There's no argument there. So there we have it. So you cannot accept a personal gift from another world, from anybody, especially other world leaders. I believe that's the emoluments clause. That's what it is. The emoluments clause is you cannot accept gifts as a world leader. So
Hey,
yes,
so the Statue of Liberty doesn't count, Leo.
you can accept it for the country. You can't accept personal gifts. Thank you for letting me
Bingo!
clarify.
And that's what he's gonna do.
I don't understand.
He's doing the same damn thing. He's accepting the plane for on behalf of the country. Let's move on and look at the big win we just had here with the over
So he's
$1.4
taking a
trillion of
plane.
the
He's taking a plane, saying that it's going to be for Air Force One. When I personally think this is common sense, but I'll state it regardless. You cannot take a foreign plane and make it your Air Force One. That's even Trump's not that stupid. He's too smart for that? There's no way. Trump's way too smart. First of all,
Let's stop
I'm
talking
not going
about
to talk. We'll take out the legality of it. Won't even bring up the fact that it's illegal. We'll leave that part out, right? And we'll just go with this is the party of common sense, right? Right. So you're going to use a foreign airplane as your Air Force One, and how you'd have to take that entire plane apart to make sure that it's not bugged from every nut and bolt and put it back together.
exactly why we shouldn't depend on China for anything when it comes to our military armaments and technology. However, because of this, the climate that we have on dependency, these things happen all the time. On top of that, didn't the man say that he would accept it after he leaves office? So isn't that being in full compliance?
So if no, that's not what he said. No, what he said was he was going to accept it. He was going to use it as Air Force One and then put it in the museum afterwards. But he can't use it as Air Force One.
No.
He can't use that. I mean, so just for the record, just common sense stuff, right? So he uses it as Air Force One, and they have it bugged, or there's some sort of bomb on it or something that they don't like. What? No, no. They have it so that AI can take control of it at any point. It's their plane. They built it. You'd be stupid to take that plane. The president of the United States can't fly around in a foreign airplane as Air Force One. That is not good for our country. It doesn't make any sense at none.
Just like we depend on their oil, that's not good for our country. We should draw our own. We should drill our own
You
oil.
can't. The oil can't be sabotaged in a way that
We
will
don't know
take
that.
out the leader of the country.
We don't know that. The fact is
This
this:
is the
we should
common
not be
sense party,
relying.
ladies and gentlemen.
We should not be relying on foreign powers for anything. And so, if you're going to squabble about this man accepting the plane as the president, as opposed to $1.4 trillion worth of investment deals he cut over there, I don't know. Maybe that should have been under the table. We should have known about it. But since it was blatant, I guess, fine.
I don't think he could hide it. He should have taken it under the table. Absolutely. If he had taken it after he was out of office, nobody would have had nothing to say. You couldn't say nothing. He would have it would have been savvy business. But taking it and talking about using it as Air Force One is really bad business. Like that's bad. Like that's like just so now they can have it bugged and sell every secret that's discussed on that plane to any foreign country that they want. Like just I would definitely like if I was selling you a plane, you was buying it, and I'm an enemy, like or I'm your friend. Yeah, I can't see how that makes any sense. So the congressman said Doge investigates those with investigations into Elon. This was brought up at a hearing recently. What you think? I mean, I've been saying that since day one because it's a fact. He's trying to tear apart the government organizations that have investigations into his company. Is there a conflict of interest?
Most of the time there is. And on top of that, Elon Musk has said that he's stepping back from Doge because of all this scrutiny and headaches that he's been dealing with Tesla. So if they want to keep coming after the man, good luck.
So, do you still support him?
Elon Musk?
Yes.
Well, I have mixed feelings, like with the South African issues. That's pretty blatant.
That aside,
That
I
aside,
understand that.
well, the thing is with him, it's a lot of trial and error. No matter how much genius you are, like Khan Noonien Singh from Star Trek, Spock said it best. It doesn't make up for experience. He doesn't have experience in these areas. So unless he has people part of the Doge team that have experience in these areas to make it expedited, they will always be making silly mistakes. For example, there was one agency article I read that was fired and hired twice as a result. Hey, we were fired because they thought it was a good idea. Then, oh wait, they have to rehire us because they really need us. Oh, then again, we're on probation, so they fire us again. Oh no, wait, we don't have enough workers in respective specialized areas. They have to rehire us. Those little things go a long way as a public embarrassment and a black eye to the whole Doge program. But then again, that goes to show that that's the negative side. So I could go either way with the Elon Musk.
So, for the record, the reason I push so hard on the Honorable Dion Powell is because he is actually one of the smartest black men that I've ever come across, and I'm waiting for him to push back. He started getting on me one time, and I love the back and forth, and he's tamed down, and I'm not excited about it. I like the little energy that I'm not getting
That's
tonight.
my opinion. Objectively, if I'm going to speak objectively and not as an apologist, like some people, then that's the way I see it. Because those are the mistakes that happen, like with the people with the nuclear codes and stuff like that. It's not too well thought out. And then again, this is the dangers of having not him, but I'm saying young people in charge of certain areas of the country with decision making. That's why progressivism and socialism is so dangerous. And that's why the honor thy mother and thy father goes out the window. Whereas somebody argues that in order to be in public office, you should be at least 35 years old, like the president. Because if you have somebody 18 that's behind a computer going through all our systems, these things can happen because you don't have no sense of history and how things really operate.
That's the thinking, yes.
Yeah,
What do
because
you think about this Golden Dome?
well, the thing is, it's reflective, I guess, of the Iron Dome in Israel, where Lockheed Martin, those guys, the military industrial complex I think it's too big a monster for even Trump to tackle under his administration with the whole super team that he has. So they have to dump money into this respective area for the veterans and the whole pre-traditional America. So this project, I believe, is a result of that, in which they're going to invest in this kind of technology, so that way we have jobs and increase our military presence. So
I have to go against you on this one too. I think this is one of Donald Trump's best moves,
really,
hands down, without question.
why?
Reagan wanted to do it in the '80s, as Donald Trump has said.
Oh,
It, the technology just wasn't there. It just wasn't there, and we should be able to protect this country from rockets coming in, and we have the technology to do it. To not do it is, why would we not do that? There's no argument. There's no argument you can make to say that you should not defend yourself against rockets coming in. If you could
well,
do it, why would you not do? The only thing he did was he said, "We're not going to call it iron. We're going to make it beautiful. We're going to call it gold,
well, you
the
remember
Golden Dome."
he did add a new branch to the military, which is Space Force. But the thing is, people, when they do these things, if you want to call it that, the general public has to wonder, like, what is the threat that we have coming around the corner this time? For example, in New York City, we still have a National Guard on subways. Why are they still there? Why were they there in the first place? When are you going to take them away? These questions have to be raised. So why would we need a Golden Dome? Is Russia really going to get out of control Ukraine? Are these people really going to hit us because we're supporting Israel so much? On and on and on. But yes, so far as I see it, an investment in this is better than an investment into other countries and wars abroad. So increasing our security here, especially with the border, I think it makes sense because it's going to hire it from within, we're going to develop it from within. It's a win across the board. So if Leo, the veteran, could actually admit this, then I'm going to have to, echo.
Yeah, I think it's his best move. I love it. I love it. There's no reason in the world why we shouldn't finally have Star Wars. I know that's what Reagan called it. I know it's the Golden
Well,
Dome. We should have that.
like when I first started joined the USS Osiris here in the Bronx, a part of Starfleet International, my first captain, Edgar Torres, sleeping pretty, said it best. Star Wars is a good story, but Star Trek is a good idea. So thanks to Space Force, Star Trek
Agreed.
was a good idea. Whereas Reagan's Star Wars was just like shock and awe to scare Russia during the Cold War.
I think it was a brilliant idea. I think that that's great. Please
You ready
make
to
us
wear
more
a hat,
secure.
Leo? You ready to wear a hat?
For that, I'd put a hat on. I would. I feel that strong about it. But let's get back to it. So we're back at the birthright citizenship argument.
Okay.
And Trump wants higher courts to end nationwide injunctions on court rulings from lower courts. What that means in English. An injunction is a ruling. This is what the courts have decided that they're going to interpret the law to be. So that's what an injunction is, right? So you have a nationwide injunction. So if the lower court makes a ruling on a particular case, you can't wear hats in the subway. It's dangerous to where people can't see your face. Now that statute applies nationally because of it's a lower court. His argument is that's stupid. All right, so in your city, you don't want that. And matter of fact, Trump took it a step further. All right, so you win that case. That doesn't mean anything for all the other cases that are just like it.
Right.
So you rule that Gregor Garcia can't be sent away, or you rule that this baby can't be sent away because this baby's a citizen. That doesn't mean anything about all of the other babies. That's just this baby. And he wants the courts to rule on birthright citizenship in that exact manner. Like, all right, so if you want a case here, then it doesn't stop us from being able to deport all the other citizens, babies that are citizens. Do you believe that he's within his right to go after national injunctions on a case of birthright citizenship?
Well, the answer is yes. Here's why. Because remember, his borders are, Tom Homan said it very quickly. Hey, are you going to separate families? No, we're willing to deport them together. The point for this issue, even though it is in violation, I believe, by the book, the Constitution, it actually makes sense in terms of parental rights. That why would you deport people which is legitimate, and keep their child here, which is a baby. So their point is, we would rather violate in order to keep the family together than actually be in full compliance with the law, which is deport the people and keep the baby here into the system, which is breaking the law on our end. But then again, they came into the country illegally. But my argument is like, oh, then I guess we're gonna have to find creative ways to get them out. That's how I feel.
So I'm going to use one of your arguments. So conservatives and Republicans are all about their First and Second Amendment rights. They want their right to guns, but when it comes to birthright citizenship, they want to throw that part of the Constitution out the window. That sounds almost like hypocrisy.
Well, there's hypocrisy goes across the board if you're a sinner, whatever the case may be. But again, if you want to have the horror stories of families being separated being true and using that against the administration, then that's what it would have to be. We would have to take the young children and the babies away, that are U.S. citizens, from their parents and kick their parents out, which is what everybody wants. However, we're going to skate around the issue, or they are rather, and put the children with their parents on the same flight with the same paper ticket, say, hey, back to your parents' country of origin. That's that.
So again, because you feel that it would be wrong to separate the families and they have to go, you are for guns that are used to kill people and all that, but also against the constitutional right for birthright citizenship. Get out of the country. I don't care if you're a
Well,
citizen
think
by
about
law.
it. Based on the United States Constitution, we all have a Second Amendment right to bear arms. However, locally, the states have made what? Laws and regulations against the United States Constitution. And on top of that, the First Amendment clearly states the right to free speech and assembly. But they're going to attack pornography, which some people argue is the right to free speech. So again, the United States Constitution on a state by state basis, even on the federal level, has its legal loopholes and bounds that the public is able to stomach.
Yes, they're going to make porn illegal. That is wild.
What can you do? That's why you got to make your own in your own house. I always say, just like homeschool.
We have children watching, so I'm not going to get into all of that.
Why are we talking about it for, Leo? If we can't handle the truth.
Well, I mean, it is a right to free speech, and I was going to bring that up because it is against free speech.
Especially revenge porn.
Okay, so we could use another free speech thing where people are getting arrested for speaking up for Gaza, which is it's always brought up that they started this January 7th,
October.
which was a horrific act, hands down. And I don't know if they started it January 7th. I think it's been ongoing and they're just trying to get their land back. So to say they started it might be a little bit of a misnomer because, this thing's been going on forever. Or ever since the Israelites or the Jews invaded their land 50 years ago or whatever. And the United States helped them do that. So am I going to get arrested now that I said that? Because, free speech.
Not arrested, just canceled. There's a difference.
Might get canceled. Might get canceled. So let's talk about China.
China.
Did you know that China has spy bases in Cuba?
Well, guess what? So do we. It's called Guantanamo Bay. All right, move on now.
Nah, this is important. This isn't just something you can brush off. This is bad.
Is it?
Well, where's Cuba?
In the Western Hemisphere, in the Caribbean.
Right at our back door. So if they have spy bases there, they can literally like intercept messages like right here. Like that's bad. That's scary bad. That's bad.
Scary bad, but it's scarier when you realize, wait a minute, if Cuba is our enemy and China is our enemy, how can we have a military installation called the Guantanamo Bay on Cuba? I'll leave that there for your viewers' common sense.
Well, Cuba's been embargoed. Cuba's been sanctioned for quite some time.
And we still have a military installation on Cuba for quite some time called Guantanamo Bay. Me, for years, I'm like, wow, how's it possible? Cuba is so horrible in our enemies, but we have a military installation in their country. Does that make sense?
I don't think Cuba and the United States are enemies.
Well,
Not
then
since
how
that,
come we have
not
an
since,
embargo?
not since, as you pointed out, since the United States likes to go into other countries and overthrow governments, since we overthrew their government.
We overthrew Cuba's government, really. So we got rid of Fidel Castro.
Well, that's the word on the street in Cuba.
Okay, well, see, sip the tea. I wish I had some right now too.
Ah, anyway, the space spy bases right at our back door is scary. And this is not
Guess what?
against Trump or you.
Wasn't there spy bases and offices here in New York City too? Wasn't the governor's Asian staffer? Wasn't she from the CCP? This stuff happens all the time. The CIA in China, whoever knows what's going on. But yes, this is the next thing that they're going to scare us with. So I'm not
So
scared,
don't
but
worry about China, huh?
well, again, we have certain procedures here that happen all the time. We spy on other countries all the time. And again, I'm
Absolutely.
just trying to make sure the think tank uses the pinch of common sense and say, hey,
I didn't. I agreed with you.
if America has a military installation on the archipelago of Cuba, if you want to call it that, called Guantanamo Bay, and there are Chinese spy locations in Cuba, a sovereign nation, does that make sense? How does that work out in the grand scheme of things for us to be scared? If we're scared that Cuba, whoever embargo on, because they're communists, has communist China on their island in their own little spy, whatever, and we have a military installation called Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, why should we be scared about anything?
Here's
Should
what I got to say
should
to
we
that.
worry? Should we be worried that Guantanamo Bay is going to get attacked and then we got to hightail it out of there?
Here's what I got to say to that. You're right.
Thank
Moving
you.
forward. What? You're right. What do you want me to say?
I mean, maybe it's just me that's crazy in this world, but
Nah,
I
you're
feel
right.
like this.
You're
So
right. Thank you for painting that with a clearer picture. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, should we be more for okay, let's before we jump into that. 2 dozen attorney generals have been going to Trump asking him to stop the import of Chinese vapes. Now, I know you know what a vape is, but the Chinese ones apparently are more potent in being used to poison our kids.
well, the point is this, Leo. Most of these attorney generals, I think, from the states they're coming from are red states. And on top of that, remember, they were blowing the whistle about this for years, about Chinese bad products and drugs flowing in across our borders, like the fentanyl. And they said it was an invasion that was a treasonous proportion that allowed us to go down this way. So now, again, a lot of Chinese products we know are subpar and are very toxic. We've known that forever. The pollution that comes out of China is toxic and it's crazy, but they want to regulate America, but we can't regulate China and their pollution and their products. So it is the way it is. Now, will the president listen? That'd be great. But if he does, they're more likely to say that he's being racist.
I think that's like the fentanyl, and I'm happy the attorney generals are going to him, and I think he should and will do something about it. This is one thing I think that Trump is going to be strong and good for the country on.
Yeah, but the point is this: why aren't all 50 state attorney generals and all our subsidiaries, like Guam, is on board as well? Why aren't they all united in this one issue?
I don't know.
Why can't we all agree that this has to be a bipartisan issue?
I agree.
We can't make Orange Man look good. He must look bad.
That might be the case. I don't know why. I happen to agree with you once
For
again.
example, on the blue team, the attorney generals have teamed up to stop Trump to do what? From doing all these mass deportations and some other items when it comes to the tariffs. And the red state attorney general's like, no, you're crazy. This helps us. So that's the way people look at it. Like the
It's not
sanctuary cities,
exactly how that worked.
like sanctuary cities. A sanctuary city is like, yo, we want to protect the migrants that come here. This is the previous administration. Other states like, hell no, are you crazy? But then Trump, at the time when this first went down, so you know what? I'm going to send all these people from the borders to sanctuary cities. Guess what they said? That would be racist. You can't do that. But then again, that's what ended up happening because then Governor Greg Abbott in the wheelchair, Professor X, was smart enough to say, hey, Trump was right. I'm going to send all these migrants to all sanctuary cities. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's a political ploy. You know what? Why didn't DeSantis in Florida too? I'm going to do the same thing. And he sent all his migrants to sanctuary cities. And they finally broke and caved in, but they still point the finger at them instead of at themselves for creating sanctuary city status.
Well, I can't support sanctuary cities.
Oh, not anymore.
Not for the way they've done taking
Landlord
hard
Eric Adams.
not not for what they've done taking hardworking taxpayer dollars and giving the benefits that belong to the people that worked in these cities all their lives to a bunch of people that just got
Talking
shoved into
Republican.
them, shoving these guys down their throat and
Just
telling
like
us
you
we
said,
got to
Donald
take
Trump.
care of them, we got to deal with them, and that's that.
Look at
I and not that
you.
I'm not against immigrants, but I am against the way that the administration and sanctuary cities handle those policies. 100%.
The previous administration.
Yes, my apologies. I stand corrected. The previous administration, I cannot support the way that was done. Yes, I mean, there should have been some sort of filter. Just letting people pour in is crazy. All of them were not hooligans and criminals. And if they took all the people out of jails and insane asylums and dumped to the country, then the countries wouldn't change because then the jails would be emptied and insane asylums would be empty, but the streets would be the same because they would have been off the streets anyway.
That's not
So
true at
that's
all.
all.
Because our American media does not do any real investigative journalism to see what has happened in El Salvador, in Argentina, in Central America. Because if that's true, what you're saying, then where are all the photos and videos of all these wonderful families? Whereas the media on a local level says, yes, these are mostly military age men. But people like me will call conspiracy theorists and racist. So
I haven't seen that.
of course not. The
If
media's not going to
you
show it to
No,
you.
I haven't. If that's the case, I don't. If you just dumped your jails here, your streets are not gonna get any safer. Your jails will just be
Yes, they
empty.
are,
They didn't
Leo.
come off the streets, so it wouldn't change the streets. That's not. This is
That's
not
how it
hard to
works.
understand.
Once you get rid of all your prisoners and what you deem as unredeemable population of your society, look at El Salvador again and see how safe it is from where it used to be the murder capital of the world. That's a fact. Remember how Brazil had to clean up its act when the Olympics came in? Remember California cleaned up its act when the Olympics came in and they exposed all these things? It happens all the time.
They didn't just dump people from jails and insane asylums into the country. That's not at
No,
all
no,
what
no, no,
happened.
no, no, no. They released them, forced them out, gave them means through the black market to come on through. For example, how did Haiti they get to the border? How did Chinese get to the border? How did all countries from South America come in through Central America, through Mexico? These people are coming from all over the world to Mexico. They're not just doing like the back in the day with the Trail of Tears and the Great Barren Strait across Russia to Alaska and just walk over here. No, this was facilitated by the black market and the drug cartels and the sex traffickers and the human traffickers. Their business went through the roof as soon as that border was open. Make sense? That's common sense. I don't have to have any numbers, diagrams, or graphs to actually put those two and two together.
So you're saying that people weren't trying to escape horrible conditions and trying to get into our country?
That population was so minute. Eric Snowden,
So you didn't.
remember Eric Snowden who escaped to Russia to expose America and all its hypocrisy? Now that's a situation where you can say, hey, that guy does need asylum. I don't see any sob stories like that.
Saw plenty. So I've seen plenty. I don't know how you like if you walked past any of these families in the street that came from other countries, families,
From war
not
torn
working age
Jamaica,
men.
why we got Jamaicans coming in through the border? What freaking totalitarianism they're trying to escape from Jamaica? That makes no sense.
Well, I know Haiti's at war and the armed and
Hillary
gangs have
Clinton,
taken over their government.
Bill Clinton, that would have never happened under Donald Trump, and that's a fact. As soon as Joe Biden got elected, the president of Haiti was assassinated. Under Joe Biden, letting everybody in the border, only the Haitians were targeted to be deported. Remember all the horses and whips and the Haitians? They were the only ones to get kicked out during the whole border being open. That sounds very strange, doesn't it?
The one place that was unsafe to be in the capital because gangs had taken over. Gangs took over. They were killing people in the streets.
Why
It was
was the
horrific.
Haitians under the Biden administration the number one demographic to be deported when everybody else could just come in and be safe? That makes no sense. Shouldn't they be the
I don't know. Sounds almost racist.
Yeah, wow, Joe Biden, really? And Kamala Harris racist? That can't be right. Just read my
Well,
cousin.
isn't Kamala from the islands? Isn't her family from the
Father's from
islands?
Jamaica, I think, and her mother, Indian descent, Caribbean, maybe. I don't know. Raised in Canada.
So she's probably not against people from the islands being her own family was there. Probably. All right. Well, you do. Can we at this point look and see and say that with everything that's happened, that China actually did come out on top of the US here? We attacked them with 145% tariffs. The tariffs have been lowered to 30%, which is still some of the highest in the world. And now the vapes are still a complaint. So, but the tariffs have been lowered. Can we say that we did not win that battle?
Like Vietnam, I guess so.
What do you think the next? What do you think will happen after the 90-day pause? Do you think that Trump can find a way to try and come back and fight back again?
I hope so because I support the president who's putting our American interests at the top of the to-do list. In addition, by that time, hopefully the deal that we just cut at the in the Middle East with these business dealers will actually put us in a place where we're actually weaning ourselves off being the Chinese dependent. So that's what I think will happen. And then they're going to have to renegotiate and say, hey, we need to lower our tariffs so that way we get some more stuff in and out because America's not really buying from us anymore because they're getting their stuff from other countries. That's what I have to see happen.
Well, China imports we're only 12% of China's exports, and other countries are stepping up to pick up where the United States has slacked. This might just hurt us because that's stuff that they don't have to sell to us to make their money. If I'm a business and I'm in China owns a lot of businesses because they're not a free market. But if they're selling other places, they don't have to increase or may not even have the capacity to increase in order to be able to continue to sell to America if they're already selling to other countries. That could be detrimental down the line.
Yeah, but where's the reporting of all the businesses that were closing as a result of the tariff war in China and all the public outrage in China because of the tariff war with their business owners? Where's the reporting on that? That's a
Well, I
question.
said it would be between last week and this week and all of that. And what happened was Trump is trying to step in and stop it from happening. He told Amazon they can't report on it.
No,
They
no, no,
told
no. I'm
Walmart, they
talking about
threatened Walmart if they
companies,
rate.
the Chinese companies in China, all the economics that hurt China as a tariff war. Why is that not being reported? It's like China has to
That is
operate
being
all
reported.
things, but what about the businesses and people that were protesting and closing as a result of the tariff war in China and how much it hurt the Chinese economy? Why is that not being reported?
Well, I'm going to answer that question in two parts. First, it is being reported. Secondly, and more importantly, the Chinese had no choice. Trump initiated the war. What was they supposed to do? What choice did the president of China have if all of this stuff going into New York, coming into America rather, was at 145% tariff? There's nothing he could do. Trump did that. There was no thing he could possibly do. Things were going to be more expensive coming in. It wasn't sustainable. Trump shut China down in that regard. Of course, they retaliated, but the retaliation has nothing to do with the fact that Trump did that to them.
Still a big fan of China, huh? So
That's not a big fan of China. What are you talking
I
about?
just need to see the Chinese. I just need to see the Chinese economy hurt as a result. What businesses were closed? What people have protested? That's the news I like to see coming out of China. But since it's a communist country, their propaganda machine has to make it appear that as though that they're winning. And the shame on the American media that they're co-signing it and say, hey, China is winning. So it seems though our media is actually an extension of the CCP by pushing this kind of propaganda. That's my opinion.
It's not propaganda that they're winning. Because here's what China did. China said, okay, well, other countries have stepped up, like the EU, will buy more from you if America won't buy. That's what happened. So the other countries in the world helped China when the US did that. That's what happened. It wasn't China figured out how to beat us. Other countries in the world teamed up against the United States. because the US was doing it to everybody. So they said, well, we'll get together and see what we could do without them. That's what happened. Trump made everybody team up and start trying to figure out how to work and make this an isolationist country while the rest of the world's working together. And eventually, if that keeps up, the United States won't be needed. Thankfully, he realized the error of his ways and he backed off. That's what happened.
All right, so no countries teamed up with America. The UK did not just cut a deal with America, so none of these things happened.
The US cut a deal with America. Let me ask you, what was in that deal?
The UK?
What was in the deal?
Okay, let's see. What did the UK do? What kind of deal did they cut with America? Because there was over, I think, 80 countries that teamed with America.
80 countries supposedly came to America. None of them got a deal until the UK, the only country to get a deal. And what was the deal?
yes, they had a trade deal with the United States of America. That's that.
What was the deal? Because they're the only country, 80 countries supposedly came to the US, which they probably did try and talk to the US. That's kind of common sense. But he wouldn't, they came here and he wouldn't give none of them a deal, if you follow what was happening. And then he gave UK a deal 2 weeks ago. And then the next week he lowered the tariffs on China. That's the order of how things went.
Yeah, this is another trade deal with UK and USA.
No details. There's a surprise. It's almost like
Okay, well then
quantitative
tell
data.
me what's going on with the UK deal with America?
Nothing.
Nothing's happening, you're saying?
Smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
But it was brilliant in one way. Now Trump is brilliant to this. You take the sixth largest economy in the world and you put something on the table with them and you show that you, before, especially before you try and talk to China, because China's killing you. So now you got to do something. So you take the sixth largest economy in the world, you come to the table with them, you say you've got something and you're willing to talk to people, and you show that you're talking, even if you don't got nothing to show. The fact that they're saying you're talking, you're saying you're talking, everybody sees you're talking. This is brilliant tactics, actually. And now you get ready to go into you take somebody who's supposed to be your closest friend, other than Canada, obviously, and you work something out with them. You take me like, all right, we good. And then now you got your strongest adversary, and you're like, see, we talking. Can we talk? It was nothing more. The EU deal was nothing more than a strategy when they approached China because they had a problem. Nothing has been, they reduced the tariffs in China to 30%. And here's what we're supposed to get from China. China's supposed to open their market, and now we're supposed to be able to sell things there. If anybody believes that they're going to do that, I also happen to have the deed to the Brooklyn Bridge. I'll sell it to you for $10 with a 20% discount.
Okay.
And that's what it is. So now he's walking around saying we had the biggest deal in the world with China when he was going to open up their economy, but they pulled out last minute. That's the story he's been swinging since the deal, which that's what he says every time he's on the air, every time he talks.
Okay.
Because that's what he does. He repeats the same thing over and over until people believe it. It's a business. It's a
So
psych
there's
strategy.
no fact checking. Thank God.
Well, right. So now you can just spit whatever lie comes to his brain. It's brilliant. He's good at it. So now what he's doing is he's telling people that he had the greatest deal in the world with China, and China backed out last minute. So then if he had the greatest deal and he backed out last minute, what does he have now?
You're asking me or telling me?
I'm asking because
Well, so
what do you
far, the
believe he
way
has
I
now?
see it, what does he have now? With the UAE, he just cut over a $1.4 trillion deal amongst
That was a
other
good deal.
restricted areas in that package. So that's what just happened. Lately, Secretary Bissett and China have to hash out some more details. But so far, as an American citizen, as you can see, amongst the millennials born in June 12th, 1981, like me, we're increasing our support of the President of the United States. And those are the facts as of today.
Yo, while he was there, the president of Ukraine was like, yo, we need to end this war. Putin was like, All right, we'll have a meeting. Zelensky responded like, yes, finally. We know they lying. You know they lying, right? I'm gonna prove it. Watch this. Yes, we want to have this meeting. We want to end this war. Trump, can we have this meeting? Trump, I don't know if I can make it. Putin, I know I said I'd be there, but I'm not coming. Trump responds to that. Well, I knew if I wasn't going, he wasn't going. But I thought you wanted to end the war. Now he's like, all right, I'm gonna meet with y'all Monday. Unreal. That's what
Well,
happened. Did you know all that happened?
yes, I did. But the question is, the fighting is starting to what? De-escalate?
No.
Let's say this. People want to talk, they're dragging their feet, but hey, so far, I think they're still better than where we were at 2 years ago.
Putin offered to talk, and then when the talk was actually going to happen, he backed out of it because he doesn't want to talk. It's the same thing I've been talking to you about for 2 months. He doesn't want to end the war. He wants to reunify the USSR.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, let's just say this. I'm happy at present time that America is not sending weapons, soldiers, and money into the situation. So I'm happy thus far.
Fair enough. What else? Is there anything else we have to talk about?
I
Tariffs,
think
loan
that's
threat,
it.
Walmart, Trump and Putin not. Oh, yes, right. The big, beautiful bill. Let's
Okay.
talk about it. So I do believe last time we spoke, I was trying to impart the knowledge on you that Medicaid was going to suffer a significant cut and millions of people will be taken from it. Have you seen anything since then that might have changed your mind and come to understand that what I was saying might have had some significant truth to it?
Yes. Unfortunately, the fact is this. You, like a lot of people, have been blaming the president for wanting to cut Medicaid when I said he did not. And the fact remains that it's the Republicans that want to cut Medicaid. So this has nothing to do with the president who said he would veto it. So all the time we're looking for President Trump's fingerprints over cutting Medicaid, it's not there. It's the Republicans.
It's his big, beautiful bill. What are you talking about? It's his bill.
Okay, well,
He's the one who put he put this
Congress,
together. What are you talking about?
again, Congress has to do its job, and it is doing its job. And like I said at the beginning of the program, so far, the least amount of bills have been proposed and passed in this quarter in decades in this Congress. So they're not doing their job. And once again, my point is this: the president does not want to cut Medicaid. Now, just like the COVID stimulus checks, Congress wants to take the credit and it wasn't the president's fault. That's what the Democrats want you to believe. I'm telling you this: look at the Republicans that are trying to push the cuts on Medicaid, whereas the media is making you think it's President Trump when it's not. Speaker Johnson is still going over negotiations on the same issue. Now, you may want to put it all on the president, but that's not true because it's being negotiated within Congress. He has to sign off.
But
Yep, but
he's
that's
been
not.
pushing them to push this bill through with the Medicaid cuts on it. The Republicans, five of them, decided to go against Trump on this bill because of the Medicaid. What are you talking about?
Again,
Five of them went
Speaker
against him.
Johnson. Oh, so remember, I said Trump didn't want it. Speaker Johnson is the one dealing with it, and there are other Republicans fighting other Republicans to push this through. So, what does this have to do with President Trump other than saying, hey, guys, get together and approve my bill as is? But of course, you have to amend it, you have to vote on it. And if it's not the way the president wants, he's going to veto it. And that's how it works. But let me
So,
actually read this to you, my friend. Maybe I should share the screen and show you this little factoid, which is something that is on the crust of this issue. And this is on X. And if it's on X, it must be true. And Speaker Johnson said,
yeah, right.
we're delivering President Trump's promises to allow the economy to flourish. And these are the 4 bullet points that the president wants to see done. No tax on tips. I've said that. No taxes on overtime. I've said that. Tax relief for seniors in the form of no taxes on Social Security. And this is something new to me that I found today. No taxes on loan interest for American-made cars. There you have it, Leo. And that's for Speaker Johnson. The one big, beautiful bill. There goes that.
Okay. So let me give you a
Now
little
it's
facts
your
about this.
turn.
So I'll give you a little facts about this bill. This
Okay.
tax bill makes the deficit larger. The deficit, this whole tax bill was supposed to be to shrink the tax deficit. This tax bill, because it extends the tax cuts for the rich to such a great degree, makes the deficit larger. It's the largest bill in American history for billionaires. The largest bill in American history for billionaires. It was made that way by throwing millions of Americans off of Medicaid, 13,700,000 Americans off Medicaid, by cutting 700 billion to the Medicaid program. Taxes on business and elderly are increased. That's what's in the bill. I don't know what was on that paper, but that's what's in the bill. It takes free meals from school kids. So you know how you go to school and they get their lunch? It takes free.
Share
This
the
is in the
screen.
bill. This is according to the Republicans that fought against the bill.
Share the screen.
I watched it go through. I watched it. I watched
The
it go through
viewers can't see
Congress
what you see, like I just showed them, but share the screen to educate us all.
in a moment. There are cuts to 300 billion in SNAP. 300 billion people won't be able to swipe EBT cards in order to pay for their kids to be able
No
to
more
eat at
sodas,
home.
no more snacks. That's what Robert F. Kennedy, shout out to him, says it's not gonna
Yeah,
be.
that's not going to be 300 billion. Taxes in homes or cars went up. That's in the bill. It takes away Pell Grants. I didn't know that one. Pell Grants for $5,000 loan, a $5,000 grant that you can get if you're going to college if you have a certain level of income that helps towards your school, helps toward pay for school. It's called a Pell Grant. I mean, it eliminates programs like LIHEAP, which is when you can't afford to pay for your heat and your electricity. LIHEAP will help assist you. It's an assistance for, I think it's heat and hot water. It's definitely something it's definitely in that program. They're taking away grants, they're taking away LIHEAP. Billionaires will get, when the tax is all said and done, about $700 a day
Why
in
can't we read
tax
this
cuts.
together? You should share the screen so we can all read this together.
I don't think I'll find this. While Americans will get about 15 cents a day. So
All
now
right.
that we did that,
That's all we have
let,
for this week, family. See you next week.
no, let's. You're shaking your head. Let's see. Let's see.
Hey, can I take a break to take a sip of something? Let me be right back.
Oh, okay. So this is not the bill. This is what Trump promises. I'll share this first while we're waiting on Dion. So here's what Trump promises, right? I don't know if he's there to hear this. It's the largest tax cut in American history. It is for billionaires. Permanent tax cuts and bigger paychecks. This means an extra 5,000 American pockets with a double-digit percent decrease to their tax bills. Includes no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. That's a temporary thing. It is there, but it's a temporary provision, while tax cuts for the billionaires are permanent. It provides historic tax relief to Social Security recipients. It kicks illegal tax immigrants off of taxpayer-funded Medicaid benefits. It funds President Trump's border wall. It boosts Border Patrol and ICE agents on front line. It fulfills President Trump's plan to completely overhaul the system that keeps Americans flying safe and efficiently, because that's been happening since he's been in office. The one big beautiful bill restores sanity to government and prohibits Medicaid funding for gender transition procedures for minors. That's what is on the. That's what
The White House
Trump's.
website sounds good to me. That's the White House website. It
Okay.
must be true.
Tax Foundation, big beautiful bill. You know what? I'm gonna do this easier. We're gonna go through this item. We're gonna itemize it.
Yes, so for the White
I,
House website seems all right. Put PDF next to it. That helps.
Oops. What is the Medicaid bill in Congress 2025? Specifically, the bill requires individuals who are between the ages of 18 and 65 who are not otherwise unable to work due to a medical condition, family situation, or other listed reason to work or volunteer at least 20 hours a week. That's good, based on a monthly average in order to qualify for Medicaid. Right to work, I like it.
Well, there you go.
No, that's true.
That's right, Leo. These are just sound bites you're regurgitating at
No,
me.
I am not
Obviously, it's
regurgitating.
not. Obviously, it's not true what you're saying because the White House website said no. What cuts the
Yes.
Medicaid? That's a good question. AI, answer that to help us be scared of Trump and be mad at him.
What cuts in Medicaid are in
The big beautiful bill.
big, beautiful? Is that how we want to do it? All right. Let's see.
Yep, that makes sense. Yep, that makes sense.
Okay, so what this doesn't do is give a number.
Well, you see, it's
Oh, okay,
right
right.
there. It's
Okay,
eliminating
all right.
benefits for 1.4 million illegal immigrants.
That is great. Impact on coverage. The proposed cuts are estimated to result in at least 7.6 million fewer people with health insurance and 3 million fewer SNAP recipients.
Okay.
So out of the 7.6 million people that'll lose it, 1.4 million are illegal immigrants. So there's only 5 million nationalized American citizens that'll lose their benefits.
You know, that's
So I guess it ain't as
unfortunate.
bad.
That's sad because when President Trump said, listen, you are not to put this people on Medicaid or any of your systems, and the sanctuary cities did it anyway, everybody has to suffer now because of the market.
Let's no. You're not gonna do that. No. We're not doing this.
That's what
We're
it
not
says
doing
here to
this.
me.
So take the 1.4 billion off. That's still 6.2 million naturalized American citizens that are going to lose. 6.2 million citizens are going to lose their benefits. 3 million people are going to lose their food benefits, while billionaires are going to get more money. That's crazy. That's why the Republicans didn't sign the bill. That's why 5 Republicans was like, we can't sign this.
Okay. Now, where are the tax breaks for the billionaires? Where's that at?
The temporary tax breaks, the tax breaks are temporary.
But where is in the big beautiful bill?
Wait a minute. Which tax breaks are you referring to?
You keep saying the billionaires are getting tax breaks. Where's that?
I keep saying the whole bill is to extend the tax breaks they have. That's what the
Where is
bill is
that?
for. What are you talking
Where,
about?
where is that? I don't see it here.
This is
Tax breaks for billionaires.
so just so anybody who's watching this on the Democratic team understands, this is
A beautiful bill.
the lack of information that's given to the other party in order for them to continue. If you've ever wondered why they support, it's not that they're mean, it's not that they're nasty, it's not that they're bad people.
That's
It's
right
lack
right
of
there.
information. Even when presented with the untrue, with the
You've been saying
untrue
it the
fact.
longest. This is the information we're being provided right now. We're going to cut Medicaid for illegal migrants. That's what it said to me. You're saying that there's going to be tax breaks for the rich. Show it to us. That's it. You said these things on loop, so now it's time to show it to us on paper.
What is this? Who is this? MSNBC.
MSDNC? Yeah, that sounds about right.
Euro News. Conservative lawmakers block Trump's big beautiful tax cut bill and major setback.
Where
That's
did you get
Euro
that from?
News.
Where's the AI? AI should be able to tell to you.
Ways and Means votes to make 2017 cuts. Tax Foundation.
We're here again on the same website.
Hold on. So then what I want is here then. So what is it? Control F? It's Control F, is that correct?
If you're on a crappy computer, no. It's the Apple function F, whatever it is. Okay.
Not what we need. We need something else. That's not it.
Right. We need to prove that Donald Trump is evil. Keep going, Leo.
I don't need to prove Donald Trump's evil. I just need to show numbers.
How much money is the rich people going to get over this number?
Hey, listen, I'm just mad I'm not one of them. The House passed resolution. That's not it. That's not the one. House GOP's big beautiful tax plan. Top line preliminary analysis: gross domestic product, gross national product, capital stock, pre-tax wages, housework converted to full-time equivalent, 10-year convention, 10-year dynamic. And that's what I'm looking for.
Oh, Leo.
I want to find this. I don't want to lose people's interest. That's why I'm having a problem. That's why I don't really want to do this.
You have to
I
break the
don't.
chain of propaganda because that's everybody says on Lou. There's going to be so many tax cuts to the rich. It's ridiculous. The billionaires, Donald Trump.
All right. AI. The one big beautiful bill, a proposed tax and spending package includes several provisions that affect high-income earners and corporations, but it's not specifically target billionaires with unique tax resolutions. So just if you make a certain amount of money. It doesn't say billionaires, you can be multi-millionaire too. Estate tax exemption, sole deduction taxes, ex excise taxes on colleges and universities. That's nice. Retaliations against unfair foreign tax, no millionaire tax. Despite some earlier discussion, OBB does not include a new top tax rate specifically for high income individuals. Focus on extending 2017 tax cuts. This is the part right here. Focus on extending 2017 tax cuts. That's the thing I keep repeating over and over and on loop. That. The OBB primarily focuses on extending the individual and business tax cuts enacted in 2017. That's what I keep repeating over and over on loop. This part primarily focuses. The bill is about extending tax cuts to the rich. That is the primary focus. Is that good enough for you?
Okay, Leo, we can end the show now on that one. Yeah, Donald Trump's helping those billionaires, everybody. Be careful. All right.
He's taking away money. He's taking away Medicaid from 5 million people.
Be scared. Be
He's
scared.
taking away SNAP benefits.
Hate Donald
He's
Trump.
taking away.
Hate Donald Trump.
Listen, he's taking away. The bill is supposed to take away Medicaid from 5 million people. It's
Live in
supposed to take
fear.
away food stamps
Live in
from
fear.
3 million people to give billionaires more money. That's what the bill does.
Be
You
afraid.
just
Be
saw it in
afraid.
black and white. There's nothing that was AI for you. You wanted it in AI. AI said it. I said it on loop a million times now. You said 5 Republicans have said we're not good with this.
Okay.
5 Republicans had it was so bad that they risked going against Donald Trump because it was that bad to their constituents. 5. It didn't even make it to the Senate. The House was like, nah, we can't do this. Actually, it was if you watch the hearing, it was wild. 4 of them was like, no. And the 5th one at the end was like, no, I'm changing my mind. I want to change my vote. Swear to God. The 5th one was like, I want to change. Someone, like, he was so scared. He didn't want to be out there alone. He came back at the end and changed his vote because he didn't want to sign a bill that was going to do these things. Now, with all of this evidence, do you still think that this is a good thing?
Well, I think it's a good thing that this is being discussed and it's back and forth in Congress. But one thing I do say is this: I can't make a proper judgment because I don't hear any alternative packages coming out in forms of bills from the blue team. So if I make a judgment, it may seem lopsided because it's all this noise and all this, let's just say, progress and all this, discourse coming from the red team that's trying to get things done whereas the blue team is just complaining about it. So what is, like all things, the alternative than Obamacare? Republicans, remember that? Republicans were just crying about Obamacare being destroying the medical industry. But what's the alternative? So Democrats, the same thing. What is the alternative?
To let the bill run out. That's why he's trying to push it. He's trying to save the 2017 cuts from running out.
But what is the alternative?
Let it run out.
So you want it to run out. So the Democrats have not proposed that, have they?
The Democrats are, well, by saying they're not signing this, that's exactly what they're saying. If this bill is about extending it, by fighting this, they're fighting the extension.
Okay. Well, I need to see that in writing because so far the Democrats have no alternative. Other than the orange man is bad. Let's vote no on this and let the Republicans fight over it. What's the alternative? Remember, I said at the beginning of the show, bills are not being made right now. There's a reason because Democrats are not doing their job. They're just using all their time, effort, and energy to convince us that Donald Trump is evil and the Republicans are bad. Check the docket. There's none for 0 bills, 5 bills. What's happening right now? Why is not
So
doing their
when
job?
it comes to low numbers like 0 and 5, those numbers matter to you. Tens of millions of people being cut doesn't.
What matters to
Those
me is
numbers are too big.
no. That's fine. But the thing is, our representatives are not doing their job. Congressman Richie,
They are. They're not letting this go through.
it's their
That
job
is their
plan.
job.
Minority leader Chuck Schumer. What are you guys doing? What's the game plan? What's
They
the
don't
game?
they don't have enough power to do anything right now.
No,
They got to
that's
sit
not
back and
true.
watch. Thankfully, the
Whoa.
Republicans got their head on right.
Actually, I'm glad you said that. People are proposing impeachment. They can do something. They just don't want to.
They can't do anything that'll have any actual effect.
So there's a
But the
study. They're
Republicans,
paralyzed now. They're utter paralysis. So then we
absolutely,
should vote them out in 2026, right?
that appears to be what's going to happen. And I don't know. The Republicans just made a good. If the Republicans want to live, they did the right thing by not signing this bill.
Well, again,
The nays have it.
the Democrats are just they have no alternative. So in the meantime, Trump's popularity and Republicans' popularity amongst the people and the millennials like me
Are going up.
are going to be in their favor. Democrats approval ratings and polls, they won't talk about it, but it's very like Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago.
I mean, the Republicans are speaking so loudly that I believe on the last recording we said that the reddest mayor in all of the country got voted, it got flipped blue because people are so upset about some of the things going on. Is that
What about
accurate?
what about the blue mayors that turned red and left the party? Back in California, like in Georgia, like in Texas, I believe, that say, hey, we're not going to be a Democrat anymore. We're going to be Republicans now. Our party's left us. I
When
think
did that
like
happen?
that sounds more about, oh, that happened like last year. It happened recently too, where there's like, you know what? Elected officials that say, hey, I'm not being a Democrat anymore. I'm becoming a Republican. Whereas the voters are voting in a Democrat over Republican. That's something different. Understand? People are leaving the Democratic Party. People are not leaving the Republican Party. People are joining the Republican Party. People are not joining the Democratic Party. Those are the facts.
That
No
is
Trump
not
voters.
actually 100% true.
So then,
And
what Republicans have you seen leave the party as opposed to Democrats leaving their party?
you'll see.
Yes.
I'm not going to, we'll table that one. But because right now, the whole thing is about these very, very important numbers that your constituents, you should be concerned about for your constituents. As somebody that represents the Bronx, a vast majority, a good portion of your constituents rely on these programs that you're talking around that even Republicans won't co-sign that you're defending. That's alarming.
Well, that's all we have for today, family. Bam.
What would you say to your constituents about the numbers that we discussed?
I say, well, you have to talk to your congressperson, Richie Torres. You have to talk to your lower senator, Kirsten Janaland. Then you have to talk to the deputy leader, Chuck Schumer. And those are the three people in a chain of food chain that you have to go to. District Leader Dion Powell can only advocate for the evilness, but they actually are in office with the power and the budgets and the salaries to actually do something about it. That's all I can say about that.
And I do believe they're fighting as hard as they can. And you're fighting against them.
No, they're not. All they're going to convince you is to be scared and hate Donald Trump and the Republicans. There's no game plan as to what the alternative would be other than to print more money, like in the American Rescue Plan, to hire more people on the government dime to do nothing, like the American Rescue Plan. So there you go. And then that's what causes inflation, by the way. Just printing money. That's what causes the deficit, by the way. Just printing money.
And who printed all that money?
Joe Biden.
I'm sorry?
Joe Biden.
No, it's not what happened.
Not the American Rescue Plan under Joe Biden that created 30,000 jobs, or I forget the amount, but a lot of jobs with the American Rescue.
Creating jobs doesn't cause inflation. Printing money does, right?
Jobs, and they printed money and they create jobs out of clear blue. Example would be the DEI offices and DEI jobs. Isn't that interesting? And now all public and private sectors are getting rid of DEI because it doesn't make any money at all. And it's one big waste of time that only benefited white women and Asians. But
that's not true at all. That's a lie. That's an outright lie.
Hour and a half over, family. We'll talk about this on Thursday.
All right. If you want to leave on a lie.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I guess I'll call it. That's not a good way to have to give yourself an intro on the way out, but
leave them wanting more. That's what they say in show business. Leave them wanting more truth. How about that?
If you want to see more, please like, share, subscribe. Help us get to 10,000. We're closing in on that number. Please help us get there. Dion, you want to tell them who you are? You already told me you're a district leader, but what you do and how to contact you?
Throw some money at me to consult you at Dion at nyconsultantsingular.us. That's Dion at nyconsultant.us. Send me an email to that effect. Okay? Back to you, Skip.
You know what? I don't understand why people should come to you. So why don't you give them a little something more than just your hashtag? Why don't you tell them a little something that you've done or things that you're doing so that people have a reason to be like, yo, you know what? Yeah. Let them know a little bit about you. Let them know. Give them a little something.
Well, some of the things that I've done was I was consultant for the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Super PAC American Values 2024. And if you support Kennedy or just curious about Kennedy, what he's doing, that's some of our body of work I've done as National African American Affairs Director. Because Kennedy's most African American support that I've gotten from out of swing states of Michigan, Maryland, and some other areas come from, people of color like myself. Now
you sat with Blexit too, right? Leadership there?
Oh, yeah, Blexit. I'm the former assistant state director of Blexit, New York, Black Exit, created by Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum. So if you want to help us change the narrative for African Americans, you might want to come see us. And this good organization, we have chapters in 48 states and growing. We have chapters on 16 HBCU campuses. So we can't be self-hating Uncle Toms, bed wenches, and sellouts the way they will make you think we believe. We've all found each other. That's why we all support Uncle Trump, even though it's a 501c3. More Black people around the freaking planet have been ready to say, wait a minute, we got to put Black America first, not these illegals. And that's what I want to say about that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. We will continue this conversation again. If you want to hear more, first, if you're looking to have a consultation about your business, if you're looking to get government contracts or grants, or if you're looking for any of these type of things, this is things that Dion has helped me personally with. These are things he can help you with. He's amazing. We go at it here, but he's amazing. You want to work with this dude.
That's right.
And please, just help us get to them numbers. We're going to get out of here tonight. We'll record something. We'll have more for you on Thursday. I guarantee you we're going to keep this going because Donald Trump definitely keeps us going. We stay busy. I will say thank you to Mr. Trump for that, even though this big, beautiful bill is like a pig in lipstick.
Well, we continue.
Yeah. I'm out of here, everybody. Have a good night.